keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Overcrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, or like. What a weekend it was for the NBA playoffs. 2 Game 7s, and boy, those Game 7s lived up to the word Game 7. We'll talk about all that. Also, the New York Yankees, we're not talking any baseball today. We will get the Joseph Aguirre in at some point this week to talk about the New York Yankees / triple play team. Because all the Yankees seems like is they get triple plays now. That's their 3rd triple play this year to end the game. The Yankees are hot right now. Pitching as well. Gary Sanchez has turned his whole looks like Yankee career around. We'll talk about that all with
excited.
Because you know Joseph is very excited to see his boy Gary start to play like the Gary Sanchez we expect him to be.
Hey, you know who said that to me this morning? Dad said that to me this morning. He goes, Gary's getting high. I said, you know what? I said, look at that. I said, Judge got high a little bit. Stan got high. I said, imagine if all 3 of those guys could ever get high at the same time. Good luck. But, hey, listen, those guys are good enough where if one of those guys gets really hot, they could carry a team for a week or 2.
Well,
so,
speaking of a player,
it will be exciting to see.
Speaking of a player that is not hot but is in hot waters, is the Ben Simmons. It can't get it figured out. Could not figure it out last night. We're going to start off with that because, yes, there was a Game 7 on Saturday night. The Brooklyn Nets shockingly go down at home. We'll talk about that. Is Kevin Durant, has he been the best player this entire time? I know that he gets knocked because of the injury, but we'll talk about that. And Trae Young, is he the villain that the NBA desperately needs? We'll talk about that all on a few. But let's start off with this. A guy that we're just talking about, Gary Sanchez, how he's turned his career around. It looks like maybe starting to turn it around for the Yankees. Well, Ben Simmons certainly did not, as he continuously shows why that man is probably out of Philadelphia. And is the process finally going to be terminated this offseason? Well, for all implications and with the way the season ended again, I would say so. Ben Simmons, boy, oh boy. Let's talk about it. This is a man also in the midst of a 5-year, $177 million. Let me say that again, Ted. 5 years, $177 million contract. You want to know what his stats were for this? I'm looking at his playoff series right now. Started off great. Do you know what he finished with this postseason or this series specifically?
Do you know he finished with the worst free throw percentage in NBA history at 33%? With a minimum of 70 free throws taken during the playoffs. And there's been Ben Wallace, Will Chamberlain in the playoffs, and he shot the worst ever.
He was 15 of 45 in this series. He didn't even average 10 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. It looks great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's tremendous what he can do as a facilitator. We know what Ben Simmons was when he came out of LSU. He was a man that had a court vision unlike any other player, maybe in recent memory. Facilitator. But we always talked about the one big thing with him. Could not shoot. Well, it still has translated into the NBA. And I think last night there was a specific play in a big clutch moment too in the game, late in the game. I think it really showed right here his whole career in Philly and what we've been bashing him for. Look, I don't want to bash a kid that's only 24 years old and is going to be 25 in the next month. But still, this one play when he decided, had an open lane, got around the defender, and still literally had an open lane. So what does he decide to do? He passes it off to Thibault, who misses 1 or 2 free throws. So he takes away a point from a team in a game that is very close. Tight-knit game the whole entire game. And Trae Young, on top of it, was struggling. Hold on. Here's my biggest thing about this whole Philly thing, Ted, is that I'm looking at the box score from last night. There was only a couple guys in double figures. It was Seth Curry, who actually struggled last night, Embiid doing his usual thing, and Tobias Harris. Then when I go over to the Atlanta Hawks, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures. That was the difference in last night's game. We can bash Ben Simmons. We could bash the process because it looks like the process is finally terminated. But to me, this came down to knowing that your star player struggled, like Trae Young. At one point, he was 1-14 from the field. To see guys like Kevin Huerter step up in big moments, it was the bench. It was the role players that stepped up for the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers, who we knew have had issues with shooters and guys not stepping up. It was on display again last night.
But Trae was clutch late in the game. He hit the 3 from deep. Listen, he was clutch when he needed to be late in the fourth quarter in the last couple minutes. Listen, there was 3:29 on that play that you were talking about. 3:29, the score was 88-86 when Simmons passed up an easy dunk to pass the ball to Thibault. He thought Gallinari was going to block him from behind. So what? You fouled. He was so scared of being fouled that he gave up a wide open dunk. It's incredible. What's sad is because this kid is a young superstar. He was the number 1 pick at LSU, but he hasn't progressed. He hasn't grown. And if you asked this question a year ago, you would have said that the guy you would have traded on this team would have not been him. It would have been Embiid. And now you look at it and you go, there's no way you trade Embiid. Embiid has really proven himself as, if not the best center in the NBA, he's one of the 3 or 4 best players in the game. And now, yes, he made some mistakes last night. He turned the ball over late, which really cost him. And he missed some bad shots, really poor last night, some air balls and not even close. But, I mean, what do you have, another 30-some points last night?
30, yeah, he was – I got the score right now. He had 31 – so he had 31 and 11.
I think he averaged –
but he had 8 turnovers last night.
Yeah, so that was the one mistake last night. They didn't get any support from their bench. Nothing from Milkshake Milton, nothing from Thibault. They didn't get the support like Atlanta did. And that was the thing that we noticed during the series, the support that even though when Trae Young's really their superstar of the Atlanta Hawks, you got a little bit from John Collins one night, from Bogdanovich, from Hurdle, from Capella. Yeah. I mean, Lou Williams. I mean, just a great supporting cast, played great defense.
Yep.
It was really a great team effort for the Atlanta Hawks. Dad goes, he goes, kind of a shocker last night. I'm like, yes and no. If
you remember, I did say, don't be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Nate McMillan has really turned the Atlanta Hawks around ever since he took over during the midseason. Listen, they could score. He just provided them some defense, and they're missing some players too.
Of course.
The Hawks. So it's just really sad a player of that young caliber not progress. He really hasn't progressed, Trev. He's gotten worse. I mean, the free throw shooting 33%, bro. I mean,
it's fascinating because you look at this game right now, and this game has so much young talent in this game, and like really not just young talent, but like talent that's like escalated into top 10, top 15 players in the league. Devin Booker, Trae Young, Luka, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell. You would have put maybe at the beginning of the year, Ben Simmons, bam, is right at the top of that list. Zion, another guy. Even the guy that went number 2 in Simmons' class, Brandon Ingram, he's improved. When he got traded from the Lakers, he improved as a scorer. That was his main strength. He was a scorer. What does he do when he gets traded? Yeah, he goes to a new place, and change of scenery is maybe what you need. He became an all-star last year. Ben Simmons, yes, is an all-star, but still, you look at all those guys I just named, all those guys are taking next steps into elite level, franchise players. Ben Simmons is going backwards. He's going in the wrong trajectory. He's going in the sense of he needs to change the scenery because that's what it looks like it's ultimately going to come down with Philadelphia. And who's going to give them the best offer? I'd be stunned. I will be stunned right now at this day on June 21st. Actually, also a happy anniversary to our parents today, too. I completely forgot. So happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. We love you.
You're the one that posted stuff on Facebook and called out.
I know. But at this present time, June 21st, there's no way I see Ben Simmons in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform.
Well, even when the post-game conference with Doc Rivers, they even asked him, is Ben Simmons a point guard in this league or for your team? And he's like, I can't. What do you mean you can't answer that right now? So that says everything to me that he's not good.
And Rivers has a lot of power in that franchise, so he's going to have a major say.
Here's the other thing: look who the GM is. He's not afraid. He's not a guy afraid to make trades, and that's Daryl Morey, who was the former GM for the Houston Rockets. So It's going to be very – I'll tell you one thing. I'm very – there's still a lot of basketball left, and I'm still very excited for the 4 teams in there. I think the Atlanta Hawks, Milwaukee is going to be a great series. We already saw last night. We're going to talk about in a second the Clippers and Suns. Great game 1. That series is going to go deep. But I'm really interested to see this offseason. I mean, you want to enjoy the games, but the offseason sometimes is more enjoyable. I mean, what happens with Ben Simmons? What happens with Damian Lillard? What happens with the Doncic and Porzingis thing in Dallas? What do the Knicks do? They need a point guard. I heard rumors say that the Wizards are thinking about trading Russell Westbrook. So that'd be 3 years in a row that he gets traded. Guy who averaged triple-double, led them to the playoffs. Phenomenal player. What do the Lakers do? They got bounced out. They don't like that, and they know they have to win now with LeBron James being there. So a lot of stuff still to be determined in the NBA, but I'll tell you, great basketball I saw this weekend. Even the game, though, we led off with Ben Simmons, but the game was good. I mean, I enjoyed the game.
I mean, it came down to the wire, man. I mean, every game, both game 7s, is everything you can ask for as not just a basketball fan, but as a sports fan. When we think of game 7, we want it coming down to the wire, last minute. Hell, if we got like we did, we got extra fun on Saturday night as we got overtime. So that was even more that was a bonus for fans to enjoy that classic that was already going on. And then you see last night's game, that was down to the wire. It was down to the wire. We're talking about the bad. I think we should start giving some credit to the Atlanta Hawks because I know we've been talking a lot about the 76ers because, well, hell, this is a team that's been at the top of the Eastern Conference for about 3-4 years now, and we've been hearing about this process. It's building. Well, it finally got to a point that, hey, this was a title contender, right? Well, guess what? They were the number 1 seed. They had all the right pieces. They had a new head coach. They thought, Brett Brown, I believe, is Brett Brown, that they got rid of. Also, they need a new head coach. They got Doc Rivers. Okay, a guy that won a championship, has been in the situation before. And once again, the same results were on display.
Let me ask you this, and I say this, out loud. What's Doc Rivers' legacy, bro? Listen,
a guy that won a Super Bowl. I'll say this because of 4 players.
Okay, so he won in Celtics because he had the big 3, and then Rondo was an emerging young star. Mm-hmm. We just saw what happened this weekend. The Clippers, without Kawhi Leonard, made it to the conference finals, led by Tyronn Lue. Same team, brand new coach. Doc Rivers.
They were down 2-0 again.
Doc Rivers again. Blowing leads. He's blown 3-1 leads. It's not like the teams that he has coached are poor teams. They're usually top seeds. They have great talent. What's to say about Doc Rivers as a coach? We're not going to get into it today, but, he's got the legacy. He was a great point guard. A great shooting guard or whatever. And he coached.
You would have thought, like, with this 76ers team, had similarities to that Celtics team. You had KG, a big presence in the middle, like you have with Embiid. Then you have the shooter in Tobias Harris, like with a Ray Allen. I'm not comparing Tobias Harris to Ray Allen. We already said, but he got a shooter. Then you had a point guard in Ben Simmons, a good defender. Wasn't great at the free throw line like Rondo. Rondo wasn't a great shooter, wasn't a great free throw shooter, but he was a great leader. He was a guy that tried to better his game each year.
He'd make some clutch shots. He was not afraid to take a shot.
Ben Simmons didn't have any of that. And you could see while I give credit to Embiid, like I said last week, I give a lot of credit to Embiid because he's tried to improve his game each and every offseason. Whereas Ben Simmons is too worried about what Kardashian he's going to be with this summer.
Well, Trev, Embiid was also hurt. He played through an injury. I mean, supposedly he had a torn meniscus. So I guarantee if you go look at his stats, I guarantee you probably average about 32 points a game and about 12 rebounds in the series. I don't think they have the average numbers out, but I mean, he was money for the most part. Yeah.
He was the best. He was one of the top 5 players he looked like throughout this entire series, and I give him credit for that. I mean, you look at it, it was incredible.
But I'll tell you one thing:
he's playing with an injury. And it's just no excuse. Again, if you're a Phillies fan, you're ticked off. You're pissed off, and you have to figure out, okay, what does this team do? Because there's a lot of question marks surrounding this team in this offseason.
Well, then, Trev, you look at it this way. I look at the series before, the Knicks, right? The Knicks series, Atlanta, right? A lot lot of stuff went on in between the lines. You know what I mean? A lot of physicality. Trae Young he's like a gnat, bro. He just loves getting into it. Then you saw this series. A lot of stuff went down in the series. John Collins and Embiid got in. Trae Young got into it. A lot. I tell you, Trae Young, you watch him. He's an aggravating player. I mean, he really is. He is a little bastard. He's good. He's good. And he's clutch. I mean, he made plays when his team needed to. Great passing ability, and he hit a clutch three late in the game. I mean, this might be
I'm glad
saying from you that he could be the villain, at least in the East, because hold on 1 second. Usually, most of the villains are like the superstars, the LeBrons or KDs, because they team up. But Trae Young, he is literally a legit villain. He is a pain in the rear end. But he's a great player too, and you've seen it in the last two series with the Knicks and now with the Sixers. And I'm very intrigued to see what type of series this is going to be against Milwaukee coming up.
I mean, yeah, you look at Steph Curry. When we think of like Steph Curry, a shoot, I compare with Trae because of the way that he can shoot the ball from anywhere on the floor. You see Steph, he's like the face. Oh, you think of wrestling terms. He's the face. He's the good guy. He's like the John Cena. He's like, yeah, I love this guy because he's great. And then you get like Trae Young, who is just like Steph Curry, but you saw how he was in New York. You saw how the crowd went after him. You saw how Philly boos him. You see how – I was watching the game last night, and you could just – I hear people talking in the background like, Trae Young, man, he's such a pain in the – it's like, damn it. He gets so ticked off with him. It's like he's that heel that like does his part perfectly. Yeah. You love to watch him, but you can't stand him when you're playing against him because of how good he is. And that's what makes him even better, is the sense because he's already one of the most watched players in the entire league currently. So it just adds more bonus because you get to see what's he going to do tonight. Is he going to go off? Is he going to talk junk to the fans, to the team? Or what's he going to do? What's going to give you
with that edge?
What's going to give you the – yeah, because when he came out, all we ever heard was, oh, he's too small. He's going to get killed in the league. He can't defend. He's a tiny little guy. Well, look at him right now. He's already one of the top 5 or 6 best young players in this league.
Did you see the play with Dwight?
He's already one of the best shooters in the game. He does it all perfectly. He's leading.
Did you see the play where Dwight Howard ran him over and he started doing push-ups?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Ran him over. He started doing push-ups. And I just, I think it's a clown. I think me personally, I think it's a clown move. But I understand from another outside perspective, people are like,
why, like that. Why? When KG was doing it, you probably loved it, right?
No, wait. When was KG doing push-ups?
I can't remember exactly when, but KG I've seen at times.
I don't remember KG
at times do push. Yes, of course.
I don't remember that.
I bet you loved it though.
No, I don't like. I still think it's a clown move. But
why? If I made a play, or if I got run over, I don't care. I'm doing push-ups.
But he plays with an edge, and yeah. I think that's what makes Atlanta and this team special. I think that's what works for them because they understand that they're playing with a full deck, but they don't have 4 aces in their deck. So they have to be, John. I noticed with John Collins too, man. Just under the chest, very.
They feed
almost a little street ball, physical. They're not going to just beat you with straight up talent like the Brooklyn Nets will, or maybe the Clippers will, or maybe even the Phoenix Suns. But they play with an edge. They have a little old school. I feel like they would fit well in the '90s because the way they play.
Look at their coach. Nate McMillan's an old school type coach. I mean, everything about this Atlanta season. You look at how they started. They were horrible. Fired their coach. I think it was what was his name? Frank. I forgot what his damn name was.
It was like in February.
But fired him early on in the season because they started off terribly. Put in Nate McMillan, a former head coach for multiple teams. He's had an up and down career as a coach, but look what they did. They fed off of the coach. Now look at Trae Young. Comes into the league a couple years ago. All it ever was he'll never succeed. He won't be able to translate his transition into the NBA. Too small. He won't be able to shoot like that. Well, look what he's doing. He's averaging about 29 points in this postseason, 30 points a game in the postseason. He's doing his thing, and the team is feeding off of them. And I looked at this series with Philly and Atlanta. You saw Philly just being Philly the past couple of years, lackadaisical. It seemed like, yeah, we're here. We're the more talented team. We should beat them. And you see Atlanta like Rocky Balboa. Keep chopping away, keep fighting, punching, go for the body. And that's who they were. They're a nitty-gritty, type team, and they battle for 48 minutes. And I give them a lot of credit. I know we've been talking a lot about the Sixers because of how poorly they finished their season again, but we have to give a lot of credit to the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, you think about it. Go into game 1, beat up on the Sixers. Then you win in game 7. You won game 1 and game 7 in Philadelphia in a hostile environment with your backs against the wall, and they played their game. And I give them credit because their bench, their role players, came in, big opportunities, and finished strong for them. And when they knew that their star was struggling at one point, Trae Young, who finished last night 5 of 23 from the field, usually that doesn't get the job done for most teams in the NBA if their star player is struggling. But this team came in clutch. John Collins, Capella, Huter, a great shooter out of Maryland, the former Terp, doing a hell of a job last night. I mean, you have Lou Williams, you have that leadership presence, and I really like this Atlanta team. This future, we talked about at the beginning of the year, the future of the Atlanta Hawks. Who has the brighter future? We thought it was going to be kind of like the New York Yankees a couple years ago, maybe a 1 to 2 year process. Hell, the Atlanta Hawks are in the Eastern Conference Finals, ladies and gentlemen.
Trev.
Just like the Phoenix Suns are in the Western Conference Finals currently.
Trev, you want to make sure we're on the right same page? They stood at 14-20 on March 1st. They were 11th place in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
That was their record before Nate McMillan took over. March 1st. All right.
Yep.
They're the second team under the current playoff format since 1984 to make the conference finals without an all-star on the roster. Don't forget they have no all-stars. So,
but Trae Young wasn't an all-star.
No, was not an all-star. Trae Young was not an all-star.
What?
Yeah, bro.
Was pretty certain. My bad. All right.
He finished with 21 points last night on 5. What was it?
23 shooting. He was not good.
He missed his first 17 of.
He started 1 of 14 from the field. He struggled as a player all around offensively last night, and for that team,
clutch at the end.
Yes. But the team stepped up when they needed him, and that was the most important thing. And that's why the 76ers are packing their bags once again and having an early exit. And that's why the Eastern Conference Finals is going to have the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well, they also blew 2 games.
Hold on. Who would even thought at the beginning of the year? Maybe we had the Clippers and Bucks. Some people had maybe those 2 teams in their conference finals. But who would have thought at the beginning of the year that it would be the Atlanta Hawks and the Phoenix Suns in the conference finals?
I got to double check, but I think I might have had the Bucks and Clippers in the finals. I got to double check.
I mean, at the beginning of the year, I think I had the Lakers against the Nets.
Brooklyn. I think you had Lakers, Brooklyn. I think I had Milwaukee.
That's what everybody had. But just to see these 2 teams, we haven't even talked about the Phoenix Suns. We haven't even talked about that series yet, which we will. We'll get into more details later on in the week because it just started, and Devin Booker is a superstar. And I love it. I love what I'm seeing from the Suns. But just to see those 2 teams in different ways, the Suns go all in and go get Chris Paul. They get that leadership, and then the Hawks. Just the way they got there. I mean, nothing but credit for both teams. I mean, I know we talked a lot of bad with the Sixers, but man, we got to give this team a lot of credit. The Atlanta Hawks. They've done a tremendous job, and they're riding high. And they have a golden opportunity. They're 4 games away from being in the NBA Finals. Well, the team that they'll be playing is a team that not many people were surprised that maybe are in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's the Milwaukee Bucks. And we talked about Game 7 last night, but Saturday night's Game 7. Everything you expected. The superstars came to play, and this is my biggest takeaway from this entire series. And I know it sounds crazy because there's a lot of LeBron people out there, which is fine, understandable. But has KD actually been the best player in the world this entire time? And I'm talking about the past 3 or 4 years now. Has Kevin Durant really been the best player in the world, Ted? Or would you still say that LeBron James is the best player? Or did this series change your view on things?
Listen, KD, the whole view on KD has never changed for me. Okay, he's always been the second best player, I always felt.
That's not what I'm asking, though.
No, I know that. He's always been the second player. And the thing was, we needed him to do it in the titles. In the finals. And then he did it. But you could also say, hey, listen, he was playing with Golden State. He was playing with a full deck. He was still
incredible. Not like he took
off. He was. Oh, of course he was, but so was LeBron. I mean, LeBron had lost that game 1, but he had like 52, 12, and like
51, 10, and 12 or something.
So it was something crazy. Listen, that was probably the best KD I've ever seen the past 3 games for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, I remember him playing for the Sonics. I remember him for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but that was probably the best KD I've ever seen. I think you sent me the Instagram post where he only sat out a total of 8 minutes the past 3 games, shot over 51% from the field, averaged almost 37.5 points a game. You knew he was the only player on his team. He looked like the best player in the world this playoff. He really has been the best player statistically wise. Now, I still think LeBron James offers more on the table of sense of defense, rebounding, ability to make people better with his ability of playmaking. Mm-hmm. You know, they asked Magic Johnson about that this morning. He still said he would take LeBron number 1 as the best. We also understand KD is a little younger, but KD has proven again. See, this is what's critical about this conversation is his ability to come back from the injury that he suffered. Most players don't come back, and most players don't come back and perform the way he did. He almost looks better than he did before. I think it just speaks volumes of the work that Kevin Durant had put in. I think it speaks volumes to the Brooklyn Nets organization and medical staff of sitting him out last year, even when they were in the playoffs, and not bringing him back, not rushing him back. Hey, what more can you say about Kevin Durant is if you watch Game 7, you watch Game 6, you could see it. He gave every single ounce of energy, and that's all you can ask for from a superstar. That's why you said that this is why you pay the superstars big money, and this is why you trade for guys like him, because every time they're on the court, doesn't matter if you have no one or someone to support them, they give you an opportunity to succeed and win an NBA Finals. I don't know if he's the best player in the world. I think you're splitting hairs, man, because I watched Curry at the end of the season. I'm like, he's incredible, and I thought Curry was playing the best of anyone I saw at the end of the season. I mean, he was phenomenal. And then I watched Chris Paul in these playoffs, and Chris Paul, you know, maybe he didn't put up the numbers of Kevin Durant, but I just look at what Chris Paul has done for the Suns, his ability to lead. You know, that can't be quantified in statistical stats. Mm-hmm. And he looks like the best player. And then, no offense, but I mean, go look at the numbers. Giannis has been phenomenal too. I mean, he's had a couple off games of 20s, but I mean, Giannis had 40+ points the other night. I mean, double-double. I mean, he's a double-double machine.
Yeah, I'll never take away from Kevin Durant from after this series. I know Kevin Durant gets a lot of hate for obvious reasons and bashing by fans and people in the media, which, I mean, it's understandable. But the way that he's played, like you said, Ted, the way he played the last 3 games, I mean, he only had 8 minutes off. He played a full 53 minutes on Saturday's game. Then last Tuesday, where he led the comeback and his triple-double, 49, 17, and 10, he played 48 minutes. I mean, I'm looking at from where his last Tuesday's game, shot almost 70% from the floor. Thursday, 50%. He shoots at such a high rate. Yes, he takes a lot of shots, man. But this is what he does. This is why. And he's a great defender. And the only reason why he gets knocked for not being probably having the title of best player in the world is because of the Achilles injury. You got to think of
that. And he also teamed up with Curry and Clay.
When he was with Golden State at the end of the whole period, we all thought that he was right there with LeBron. And you could even put Kawhi at there. When he went down, that was a full year of no Kevin Durant. When he was out for 2. No, he was out for he was out for that finals game, and then he got hurt again, popped the Achilles, then he missed the entire year last year. If he plays last year, he was at a rate that you would easily have said, "Oh, screw it, I'm putting Kevin Durant as the top player in the world." I mean, it had to be some sort of debate, and if so, it either was LeBron or KD. But to me, after what I've seen from this series, I won't give any hate to Kevin Durant. Do I like him as am I a fan of Kevin Durant? No, I'm a fan of his play, but I don't root for Kevin Durant. But for what he did this series, for trying to, and the best thing that could have happened is having no Kyrie and Harden, because we got to see what he can do at his best. He didn't have no supporting cast. Joe Harris,
he had no choice.
One of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Where were you, Joe Harris? Where the hell were you?
Okay, he wasn't ready for the big time. Listen to this. He played all of Game 5, scored 49 points, including 20 in the fourth quarter, when he nearly outscored the Bucks by himself. Follow that up with another 48 points in Game 7, playing all 53 minutes and setting an NBA Game 7 record of 48 points. Just looking at his just this round 2 stats. Played in 7 games, 35.4 points a game, almost 50% from the field, 35% from 3, 5 assists a game, 10 rebounds, and almost 2 steals a game. He was phenomenal, played in every minute of the game. See, that's what speaks volumes to me, playing in every minute of the game. There are no breaks. No coach take me out. I'm going to play every minute of every second. And I'm going to dominate. I'm going to be the best player in the court because he was the best player, and he was about 2 inches too short. Because if he was 2 inches a little bit farther back, the Nets are in the finals and not the Milwaukee Bucks.
We might be talking about double overtime, if anything. We don't know what happens, but
the overtime shot, he was tired. I'm talking about the end of regulation shot over PJ Tucker, not the final.
No, the shot to lead.
He was exhausted, bro. It just showed it. He had nothing left when he shot that air ball.
The man gave it all he got. I mean, I give him all the credit in the world for trying to literally lead his team when you had players struggling like Joe Harris, who doesn't usually struggle, or Harden, who struggled offensively for obvious reasons. But you see what Kevin Durant did this entire postseason. We're going to say that, the Nets didn't get to the finals, so it's a fail. It's not a failure on Kevin Durant. It might be a failure on the team. It ain't a failure on Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant did his part. Kevin Durant did everything he could to lead his team to a title or to a conference finals.
Listen, I know you
this didn't help him.
I know you don't have him in the topic train, but your other question should have been like this: is Devin Booker the best player in the playoffs? Because yesterday he became the 4th NBA player of all time to have 40 points and a triple-double in the conference finals.
And
only LeBron James, Oscar Robertson, and Charles Barkley were the 3 other ones that have ever done that before in the NBA conference finals. No Kobe, no Michael Jordan, no Wilt, no Shaq. None of those guys have ever had a 40-point triple-double in the conference finals. Devin Booker did it, and without Chris Paul. And when it mattered most against the Lakers, he slammed the door shut in their face. And he's been the best player maybe in the Western Conference Finals, and that's the reason why the Suns. But I look at Devin Booker the same way I look at Kevin Durant the way this playoff. We could talk about the NBA all been throughout the whole thing. We talked about the injuries going into it, but Kevin Durant, there was nothing we missed in any of these playoffs that we couldn't have gotten with the guys that were not on the court. Because Saturday night's game was a classic. If you truly enjoy basketball,
it's just maybe different outcomes for a lot of series. Who knows? Maybe the Suns aren't in the final. Maybe the Suns aren't in the Western Conference Finals if there's a healthy LeBron and AD. It's all. That's where the injuries problems come in. That's the only thing that deflates this postseason, and even maybe the end of the season in a sense, because of there's so much great talent that was gone, that was missed. And I'm talking all-star level.
What if the Celtics had a healthy Jaylen Brown? Would they have beaten the Nets? Because the Nets weren't fully healthy. So could Jaylen Brown and the Nets maybe knock them off? We don't know. Maybe give it a better series. What if Mike Conley's healthy for the Jazz? What if AD was healthy for the Lakers?
Let me ask you this: are you sticking with your current finals? Are you going with Bucks Clippers still? I know the Western Conference Finals started yesterday, but. And my whole finals prediction out the window after round 1. So
listen,
I guess I give a new one.
I will stick with my prediction. But if you ask me, do I want the Suns to win? Yes, I would rather see the Suns in the finals because I want to see Chris Paul have an opportunity to play in the finals. And I want to see Devin Booker in the finals. Oh, listen, there's something that attracts me about this Suns team. I know this is not on the topic train, but there really is something that I really enjoy about watching the Suns. Just the young talent of Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Ayton. These are 3 guys that they have drafted, which is really key because you think about like Golden State. They drafted Clay, they drafted Curry, they drafted Draymond.
You know who drafted Mikal Bridges, right?
No.
It was the 76ers. His mom was in the front office, and they traded him.
Oh.
To Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
He originally got drafted to Philly, and Philly being –
Was that when Sarge went over there too?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sarge, but then who the hell
did they traded Mikal Bridges, and look how Mikal Bridges has panned out for the
Sixers get.
I forgot.
But I just look at the Suns, a great balance of young talent with Ayton and Booker and Bridges, and then you have the veterans of Jay Crowder, the toughness, the wing player.
You got an experienced coach.
And experienced coach, and you have a true leader and a point guard in Chris Paul.
I'm going to go with the Suns out of the West, and man, do I want to take Atlanta? I think it's just destiny to see Chris Paul against Giannis. I think that's what I mean. Hey, hell, if Atlanta's in the finals, I won't be surprised. I don't really care. I would love it.
Yo, I'll tell you one thing. Chris Paul and Trae Young and Trae Young going at each other. Hold on one second. They're both like little pit bulls. The veteran pit bull versus. I mean, think about it. If you think about Trae Young's kind of like a little bit of a Chris Paul. Think about Chris Paul. He's always nagging. He's always in people's faces. Always getting into stuff on the court. Think about Chris Paul. Similar guy. You know what I mean? Kind of pit bull attitude. So that would be a really great thing.
I do think it's destined to see Chris Paul finally get to a finals and Giannis maybe come closer to getting his first ring, both of those guys. But I would not be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks are in the finals. And hell, I would love it. I know people are like, oh, the ratings would be terrible. Well, then you're not really a basketball fan. You're not really a sports fan. I'm watching it. I don't care who's in the finals. I'm really hoping the Clippers don't because I'm a Laker fan and I don't want to see the Clippers. I'm really hoping for the Suns to continue to play well, and I'm hoping Chris Paul comes back and is able to play in this series because he could just make it. And I hope Kawhi too, because I want to see both of those teams at their absolute best. And that's what I want to see with the Suns or the Hawks against the Bucks. I want to see their absolute best for however long the series is. But I want the Suns. I'm going to go with the Bucks. I think it's just a destiny type thing. I know all these four teams. I mean, hell, you never know. The Clippers.
Who would have thought? I'm wondering what the matchups are going to be. In the sense of, I'm assuming John Collins is probably going to have to guard Giannis. Trae and Holiday.
I think that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup just because of the styles of play from the Atlanta Hawks. They're young, athletic, like to shoot the ball, move around a lot. And then you got, oh my goodness, Milwaukee, who likes to slow it down, like to beat you up because of their defense. They got a great all-around defense. They're a good perimeter shooting team, the Bucks. Also, the Hawks have been shooting the ball pretty well. So they got that three-point shooting is going to be a telling sign in this Eastern Conference Finals. I think Capella has to play well, and I think the bench has to continue for the Atlanta Hawks to win this series, just like they did last series.
Listen, NBA playoffs have been great. Every game has been
everything you expected it to. I know the big names are not there. The Lakers, the Nets. I know those teams are eliminated. The Sixers, you can add over, but still, these Final Four teams, well deserving, and it's been a hell of a postseason so far. And I'm excited to see what the rest of it looks like because I've enjoyed it, and I know most basketball fans haven't. At least I should say, should have enjoyed it so far. So we'll have to see what happens. We got no games on tonight. We got the Bucks tomorrow, and I believe Wednesday is game 2.
Yankees are off tonight. There's not much going on tonight. You got, I believe you have the hockey playoffs tonight. Islanders.
Who won the night? Did the Knights win?
The Knights won in overtime last night, 2-1. So that series is tied 2-2.
All right, cool.
And the other series is tied 2-2.
Here we go. So here's the schedule. So the Suns play tomorrow, game 2, and then Wednesday will be the Hawks and Bucks. So that is the schedule for the next couple days in the NBA playoffs. So if you're missing out, get on to TNT and get on to ESPN. Or is TNT hosting both of them?
I think they're hosting. I think they're hosting both of them during the week.
No, ESPN's got tomorrow's game and TNT's got the Eastern Conference Finals. So we will see. The Yankees are playing well right now, sweeping the A's. They didn't
sweep the A's.
Well, they did.
They lost Friday night.
Oh, they lost Friday? I thought they won.
And Saturday they came back to win, and then last night they came back to win.
The Yankees are playing well. They're starting to play well again, but we'll have to see how this new week comes in because each and every week
together, my friend. Oh, and I'll tell you one thing. I don't think you looked. Yankees are only 4.5 out of first place right now. The Rays are on an 8-game losing streak. The Red Sox have now been playing well. So now the Rays-Red Sox play this week against each other. I'm really kind of for the Red Sox to win and balance it out because I think the Yankees can catch the Red Sox a lot easier. Either way, this is
what happens. We don't know what each week for the New York Yankees. We don't know what happens each week for the New York Yankees.
You saw the thing I sent you. Ohtani's in the home run derby. He had another one last night.
He knew that like 3 weeks ago.
He had another one last night.
Of course.
He's got 23.
Good. I can't wait to see him in the home run derby. I think it's going to be great.
That's where the home run derby is.
In Colorado.
Boom, baby, boom.
Oh, I know. I hope my boy Trevor Story plays in it.
I hope he does home run derby. That would be cool. Or imagine Nolan Arenado in it.
I'm hoping for. I mean, baseball is in the midst of some good stuff going on right now. We'll see what happens. As the MLB is going to start checking out pitchers now with the illegal substance, so that's a lot that's going to be brewing. We'll see what happens with that nonsense. But the NBA playoffs, like I said, tomorrow, the Suns game 2, Clippers game 2, and then Wednesday game 1, Milwaukee Bucks versus the Atlanta Hawks. Should be a lot of fun. I know there hasn't been much of NFL talk. I promise you, we're just waiting for Aaron Rodgers, right, Ted?
He's not going nowhere.
I know, Ted. You always
they're
think
gonna hold him, put his foot to the fire. I'm telling you, they're going to call.
You're siding with management. Stab.
Yeah. They're going to call his bluff. I don't think he's going anywhere. The Green Bay is not. There's no point in trading. If you trade Aaron Rodgers, you give up your opportunity to win the Super Bowl this year. Green Bay is going to say, you know what? Guess what? If we're going to lose this year, we ain't losing because we traded yourself. So we'll hold you to the fire. We'll see what happens, and we'll live with what we have to live with.
Doesn't matter. Tampa's running the NFC. That's okay. But, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back later in the week. We'll be having the Joseph McGuire join us to talk New York Yankee baseball, and we'll talk more NBA playoffs as well. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City, so subscribe, comment, share, or like. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.